All right, so the formative and summative for the next unit standard are going to be related to diversity. So diversity is where we are going to have to head. So formative assessment 2, and that's unit standard 252043. And the first question is define diversity in terms of the differences on culture, values, race, age, sex, language, and education. And then use examples to support your answer. So you'll see a whole bunch of different diversities that is in your reference guide, and that is on page 5. But ultimately, what I want you to do is to say, okay, not just do we have cultural diversity, but what kinds of cultural diversity do we have? What race diversity? What age diversity? And so I want you to be quite specific in terms of not just saying it's a values diversity, but what kinds of values are diverse in terms of your business. Okay, so that's why you need to use examples. So you can go to page 5 and you can go through this section A, which says cultural diversity, and then you'll go to age diversity, and then you just give me specific examples of the diversity that you find. Then question number 2 says, how can diversity be a potential source of discrimination? So over there, you'll see that we have discussed about how discrimination can occur because of diversity. So page 10 is where it talks about the different kinds of discrimination that we can find, but ultimately use examples that you can imagine would happen within a business, where there could be discrimination based on age, based on race, based on sexual orientation, those kinds of things. Okay, then question number 3. It says, use examples to explain the benefit of diversity in employees and in clients for an organization. So page 23 talks about the importance of diversity for employees as well as for clients. And so I want you to not just know the theory on page 23, but also how that then impacts the way that you can connect with employees, the way that you can connect with clients, and how important that diversity is. Okay. Then question 3, part 2. Clearly define the following terms, giving examples in relation to diversity in working environments. So how are values and attitudes diverse? So you will see we speak about that on page 27. And so we take a look at how values can be diverse and how attitudes can be diverse. And so you can also give me some examples of where values are diverse and where different attitudes can also be diverse, and just expand upon that. Remember, there's only 5 marks allocated, so don't go overboard, keep to the brief. Right, then clearly describe brainstorming as a tool to generate diverse viewpoints within a team. Note, also include basic rules in brainstorming and brainstorming steps. So if you go to page 49, we talk all about brainstorming. And over there, they'll talk about how important it is to have diversity within the group in order to get diverse ideas. But obviously, you have those diverse ideas, but it has to go through a systematic process in order for those ideas to make sense and to be constructive. And so go to page 49 and give me some of the insights that you find there into how brainstorming can create diverse viewpoints. Then this is something that you are going to have to do, which is a presentation. It says a 30-minute presentation on the effects of diversity in the workplace. And in that presentation, you need to define what diversity is. You need to tell me the nature of different diversities, so age, race, class, education, values, attitudes, all of those kinds of things. What are the positive effects of diversity and what are the negative effects of diversity? And then how can you effectively manage diversity within the workplace? So I don't think you're going to have to aim for 30 minutes. I would be very, very happy if it could be between 10 and 15 minutes. And ultimately you need to look at this criteria. So the criteria that are on page number 14 is the criteria that we are going to use to make sure that you are competent in understanding diversity. So you can put in your name and surname, your ID number, the company, and then the date that we're going to do it. And I think we're going to probably, let me just see if I have to mark it off. No, I don't have to mark it off. So what you're going to do is you're going to do that presentation for your senior. So whoever you report into, they are your supervisor. And so you're going to do this presentation for them. So obviously it needs to be very well done and very well executed. And this is the brief. So your supervisor is going to score you based on your introduction, based on your presentation, based on your techniques, based on your conclusion, and how well it was structured, as well as your general ability in terms of presentation. So, did you use the correct time? Was your body language good? What was your relationship? What was your engagement with the audience? And how did you create the atmosphere? So there are 16 marks to that. So obviously you are going to use that as the basis of your presentation. You're going to do it to your supervisor or to your manager, and they are going to use this matrix to score you. At the bottom, they can give any general comments on how well you did. And then they will also give you, they need to put in their name and they need to sign that you have completed that specific task. Okay, so in total, your formative section is 76 marks for diversity. So once we have done that, we are going to then move to the formative. Now remember the summative. The summative says we now understand diversity. How do we actually practically apply it? How do we take that understanding and how are we able to then impact our workplace using that understanding? So if you go to your summative section, let's go to the summative section and you'll go past your leadership and then we will move to the diversity section. So yours would start on page number 37. Okay, page number 37. So the first part, and again, a lot of this, even though you understand the theory, is going to be about practical experience. So summative assessment 2, and you are required to identify the nature of diversity in your organization using the following guidelines. So the first thing is that you need to explain the nature of diversity that exists within your organization. So is there age diversity, racial diversity, value diversity? Is there educational diversity? Is there even geographic diversity to your workforce? Then explain how cultural diversity in your organization can lead to discrimination. So if you look at all the different cultures within your business, how could that possibly lead to discrimination? What kind of discrimination might be in your business because of different cultures? Then explain the implication for diversity for external and internal relationships in your organization. So remember, this is not just within your business, but also how you engage with your suppliers, how you engage with your clients, how you engage with society. All of those kinds of things are very crucial to diversity. So what are the implications of diversity for external and internal relationships? Then part D says, give examples of cultural biases, stereotypes, and perceptions that you have heard in your business. So again, it doesn't mean that you have stereotypes or you have perceptions or you have biases. But what kind of biases have you heard of? What stereotypes do people within the business make that can actually lead to negative impact on your business? Okay, so now you need to attach some evidence in your portfolio of evidence. So things like demographics of your team sheets, demographics through your attendance register, demographics in terms of your skills matrix. All of those kinds of things will show that you have a definite diversity within your organization. So all of those would be evidence that you could put in your portfolio of evidence. Then task number 2 is a follow-up to task number 1. So explain how you as an organization can utilize diverse talents, attitudes, and values of employees that emanate from diversity in order to maximize productivity. So obviously, if there's a difference in skills, it boosts your productivity. If there are different viewpoints, it leads to better problem solving, which can increase productivity. If you have different education, you might be able to see problems from different angles. That would increase productivity. So how can those diverse talents, attitudes, and values actually increase your productivity? Then describe how your organization utilizes diversity amongst the team members to enhance formal relationships at work. Now, by having diversity, you guys all have to be sensitive. You need to be able to hear each other's stories. You need to be able to give feedback in sensitive ways. Now, all of that actually creates better relationships within the formal environment. So, how does your organization utilize the strength of diversity to actually build relationships? Then, clearly explain how your organization addresses the needs of diverse groups and communities when producing and marketing its products and services. Now, this is quite a big one. It has 15 marks allocated. So if you take a look at how your products are designed, developed, and marketed, how do you guys connect with different target markets? Obviously, you've got international. So you have to go to different international buyers, and you need to hear what they want. Well, also that there are certain things on the boat that are going to be for highly advanced people who understand technology, as well as people that don't understand technology. So how do you get that diversity in your products as well as in your marketing? So take a look at all your products, take a look at all your marketing, and see how it impacts diverse people and diverse target markets. And now you got to also attach evidence. So things like what target markets you reach out to, what your marketing material looks like. You can use your website to see how it connects with people from diverse backgrounds. Maybe different languages you've been able to connect to. So take a look at anything that shows me the diversity in your clients. It might even be a product list and who it's actually targeted to, or it could be product features and who they target. So all of those kinds of things can be brought into your evidence. So that's task 2. Now, task 3. You are required to conduct research into the organization, and you need to address the following in your research. So the first thing is you need to interact with 5 individuals in your team and list their interests, their values, and their attitudes. So it's really part of just doing a discussion or an interview or even a questionnaire with 5 of your team members. Then take a look at the common values, the common attitudes, and the common interests that are amongst those 5. And when you've got that, tell me how you can use those commonalities in order to influence the team. Okay, so list your common values, common interests, and common attitudes, and how can you leverage that to actually build a stronger team? Then part C, explain how managers in your organization handle diversity issues when communicating. Now, obviously, within the business, there's lots of diversity, but how do you communicate in such a way that each person actually gets the message, that there's understanding from all levels, from all backgrounds, from all the diverse people within the business? So how do they change the way that they communicate in order to connect with those different personalities and different people? So also you need to attach evidence. So easiest way, interview notes, questionnaire notes, the surveys that they've actually done, notes of the meeting that you had where you've discussed interests, values, and attitudes. And that's what you're going to attach. Then task number 4. This is how to deal with disagreements and conflicts stemming from diversity. So section A says, describe an incident of conflict or disagreement that occurred in your organization as a result of diversity. Explain how it was addressed or how it should have been addressed. Now, remember, you guys have just brought a union into the business. And because of that, there's diverse values and diverse goals. And that often leads to issues. And those issues have and could lead to strikes. So maybe take a look at that. Or maybe there was a different diversity issue that landed up being a source of conflict or disagreement, or even it could have led to some kind of disciplinary or grievance being laid. Then identify and describe 2 cases of unfair discrimination that occurred in your organization as a result of diversity. Now, maybe you guys haven't had an incident like that, but then tell me what kind of discrimination could possibly have happened within the business. And so, based on what you know about diversity and what you know about discrimination, how could an unfair discrimination event have happened within the business? And then how should it have been addressed, or how was it addressed? And then number C, explain how your organization can turn conflicts into group cohesion. Now, ultimately, not all conflict is negative. There can be really good conflict where it actually allows people to connect, to talk, to come to agreements, to find common values, to be able to find a way forward, crystallize goals, and be able to actually come up with some kind of win-win solution where everyone walks away a winner. So how can you do that within your business? And then finally, you need to also attach the evidence in the POE. So if you've had some kind of unfair discrimination and you got an email about it, or you got a memo about it, or where there was training about it, then put those kinds of evidences in your portfolio of evidence. Then you are finished with the second part of the portfolio of evidence, and that's all based on diversity. So good luck. Again, if you need any help, you give me a shout.